Thank you for joining us today as we wrap up our RV Ready for Spring series. Over the last 7 videos, we've gone through exterior inspections, testing your water system, your propane system and your appliances, the electrical system, the tires and running gear, and the heat and cool system. Today we're just going to go and give a little bullet point reminders on what you want to check before you take off on that first camping trip. We definitely recommend doing this a week, 10 days before you leave, because if you do have an issue, you don't want to be caught at the last minute scrambling to find someone that can come help you or a shop that you can get into at last minute and be able to get it serviced depending on what it is. When we look back at the video about the roof and exterior, you always want to look for any cracks in your sealant. A little crack can spread and cause big problems. If water can get into your camper, it can rot it out in no time at all. Are all your trim pieces still tight? Did something happen where one came loose? Get hit with a lawnmower? Somebody just breezed into it with the bumper of their car and just pulled that trim a little bit apart at the bottom front corner of the camper. If you walk into the camper in the spring and you smell a strong, musty, moldy, mildewy smell, you definitely have water coming into it, and it needs to get addressed before bigger issues come about. Don't forget to fill the water system up at the house before you leave. Make sure there's no leaks. Make sure that all the faucets are working. A lot of times sawdust from 4 years ago when the camper was built can get jostled loose when you winterize and clog up your aerators on your faucets. It's a simple fix, but it's a whole lot less stressful when you're sitting in your driveway versus when you pull into that campground. Always check underneath the sinks to make sure there's no drips from the traps or from the water supply lines. In today's campers, there's a lot of plastic fittings used, and as the heat and cold cycles happen throughout the winter, those fittings can loosen up. We see it all the time. Doesn't hurt to run the water, pop your head underneath, make sure there's no drips, and if there are, if you can, tighten those fittings up a bit. Turn your propane on. Make sure the stovetop lights. Make sure that the water heater works on propane. Make sure that the stove flame is steady and even. It should be blue without much yellow in it. Make sure that you don't have any odor of propane when the propane's off inside the camper, or that the propane detector is not going off. On the propane detector, make sure you test it. There's a test button on it. Push it. Make sure it's going to chirp. Most campers today, propane and carbon monoxide are wrapped in the same detector. But if you have a camper that has a separate carbon monoxide and smoke, test all 3 of them. Make sure you put new batteries in that smoke detector. Make sure that if the carbon monoxide detector is battery powered, you're putting a new battery in that. Make sure that the fire extinguisher is still showing good on the dial if it has one. Make sure if it doesn't have one, the push button springs back. All these safety things are things that are very important to keep in mind and can save a life in a hurry. Make sure that your battery system is powering up your lights when you're plugged in, and that your microwave display is lit up. You want to verify that your air conditioner comes on, that your furnace comes on, that your ground fault plugs can trip through the test button and then be reset. You also want to operate your slide rooms. Make sure that they're working properly. Take a really close look at your tires before you go driving down the road. Make sure there's no new cracks in the sidewalls. Make sure that the tire pressure is set proper. And you want to check your torque on the lug nuts. A loose lug nut or a lug nut that's too tight can both cause that wheel to come off, especially in a longer haul. One of the biggest things that we see is that we don't load the camper up until the night before we're leaving or the morning we're leaving. And it puts us in a lurch under a lot of stress where we're thinking we're going to lose money because we can't enjoy the camping experience once we get to the campground. So again, we always recommend going through this checklist well in advance of your trip so that you can know 100% that the last time you touched it, everything worked and you should be good to go. It won't guarantee that you won't have a problem because after all, it is a camper. But it will give you that peace of mind to pull into the campground and know we're golden. If you would prefer professionals to take a look at your camper, feel free to call us at 865-205-5784. We can either do just a simple inspection for you, or we can go through the entire rig and make sure that everything is good to go for this year's camping season.